Okay. Okay, I don't have my record button. Don't have a record button. Hot button. You got it?
I have to record one here. It's on me.
Okay, so let's go live and start recording. Go ahead, Frida.
Okay. Welcome and thank you for joining us today for the HHC Capital Corporation Semi-Annual Board Meeting. Today's meeting is officially called to order. First on the agenda is the adoption of the minutes for the HHC Capital Corporation meeting held on January 9th, 2020. Okay. Welcome and thank you for joining us today for the HHC Capital Corporation Semi-Annual Board Meeting. Today's meeting is officially called to order. First on the agenda is the adoption of the minutes for the HHC Capital Corporation meeting held on January 9th, 2020. Do you hear the feedback?
Yes, I'm hearing the echo from YouTube.
Somebody want to move it?
I'm trying to.
Or out of YouTube, or
Yeah, it's coming from YouTube.
somebody's on YouTube, or
Okay, Frida, I think you could start now. Go ahead.
Should I repeat or can I keep going?
You can keep going.
Okay. Regarding the minutes from January 9th, are there any questions, comments, or suggested changes?
Nope.
May I have a motion to adopt these minutes?
motion to adopt?
Second?
Second.
So I'll go around and just poll each member for their vote. Chairman Pagan?
Yes.
Matt Siegler, who is representing Dr. Katz in a voting capacity.
Yes.
Mr. Nolan? Bob, are you there?
Yeah, I said yes. Wait a second.
We heard you. Thank you. Fenioski Peñamora?
Yes.
And I think Anita Kawatra has joined us. Anita?
Yes, here.
Great. So the minutes are adopted. I vote yes myself, and the minutes are adopted. So I'm going to turn the agenda over now to Linda DeHart of HHC's Finance and Corporate Reimbursement Division to provide us an update on the activities of the Capital Corporation. Linda?
Thank you. So just as a reminder for the group, the Capital Corporation was established essentially as a holding code as part of the security structure related to bonds issued by health and hospitals. The Capital Corporation receives all of the health and hospitals patient care revenue and holds it for bond debt service coverage. So there is no business of the Capital Corporation, but we use this meeting as an opportunity to update the group on the status of the health and hospitals debt program. So on the first slide, we have a picture of our outstanding bond portfolio. It consists predominantly fixed assets. We currently have just under 24% in variable rate bonds that are secured by letters of credit from TD Bank and JP Morgan Chase. We have estimated that variable rate debt over since inception has saved us $63.6 million. Our last weekly interest rate reset rate was 0.8% to 0.1% as of the first week in September. Are there any questions on this slide? We can move on to slide 2, which provides a history of the system's debt issuances. We can advance the slide, please. Thank you. So this page just provides a history of issuances by the system. As you can see, we currently have $565 million of debt outstanding. We have not issued debt for quite some time, most recently in 2013. As a point of information, we do intend to bring an item to the Finance Committee in October requesting approval to refund some of the existing debt and to issue new debt. There will be a presentation on that to the Finance Committee next month. The next slide shows the status of the system's construction fund, the proceeds of the last bond issuance. We do have a small amount remaining that needs to be resolved. This is, at this point, primarily a result of interest earned on bond proceeds, but we are working with facilities development to ensure that we fully draw down these funds. It's a combination of needing to close out some old capital projects and to identify where we may have allocated funds to a project that ultimately came in a little bit lower, and there may be some availability to reallocate those funds to other things. But we currently have roughly $764 million, $1,000 that we need to resolve. Moving to the next slide. In addition to our bond issuance, the board has approved short-term financing that has a secondary loan against the lockbox that is secured through the Capital Corporation. This was structured in part to prevent having a large construction fund from bond issuance. These more of a sort of in-time short-term borrowing, primarily for equipment. It's also been used for some minor renovation, often related to the installation of equipment. So under this program, we entered 2 loan agreements, one with JPMorgan Chase, one with Citibank, both for $60 million. And we have more information on the status of those 2 loans on the following slide. First, the JPMorgan loan. This is a fixed-rate loan maturing in 2022 at an interest rate of excuse me, 2.088%. We currently have nearly fully expended this fund. We have just under $700,000 left to be expensed. We have projects pending, again, working with our facilities development office to ensure that we use all of these funds. We've drawn down the bulk of it. The outstanding balance as of the end of August, $24.7 million. Moving to the next slide, the Citibank loan was split. This is $30 million as a fixed rate loan, $30 million as a revolving, the variable rate loan. The fixed rate matures in 2022 and the variable in 2023. We again have encumbered the bulk of this. We have a slightly larger balance here, just under $4 million that has not yet been encumbered. We do have project plans with facilities development for these funds, as well as some IT equipment here. There's a little more flexibility on the use of these funds that goes beyond equipment leasing and renovation. And we continue to work with them to draw it down. We have an outstanding balance as of the end of October of $41.4 million. That concludes the presentation. Happy to take any questions.
Linda, just one clarification on the variable rate loans. Those are, in particular, I'm looking at a Citibank loan where you still have $4 million roughly of unencumbered expenses. Did you draw the full $60 million, or is it still a portion of it? In other words, are we paying interest on the full $60 million right now?
We are. We had a drawdown period that expired. Pauline may need to correct me, but I believe about a year and a half ago. So we did draw down the full amount of the loan at that time.
Okay. But you have also been paying some down because there's only 41 million.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And of the amounts that you're paying, are you paying pro rata between the fixed and the variable, or is it one over the other? You know,
Pauline, do you have that information? We may need to look into it and get back to you.
okay, that's fine.
Frida, I have a question.
Sure. Why don't we go around, Fanny? Why don't you?
Okay.
We can start with you, Fanny. Go ahead.
Thank you, Frida. Sorry that I jumped. I apologize. No, thank you, Linda, for the presentation. Quite informative. I have two questions. One that was my original question, and one then that it came up after Frida's question is that as we, I remember that maybe 3 or 4 months ago, we approved through the finance committee and then through the board a type of financing arrangement for certain investments. I don't know if it was IT or others in which we were taking like I think the vendor was going to finance part of the purchase and then we were going to pay. That type of financial arrangement are not part of this discussion. Is done by a separate arm of the system, or is also part of this financial structure? Because I didn't see any of that here. Do you remember, Frida, what I'm talking about?
Yes.
Yeah.
And Linda, you can speak to this. It was vendor financing for IT equipment and was brought as part of the proposal from the vendor. And so, Linda, we talked about at some point we might want to do a consolidated discussion. It's not technically related to the Capital Corporation because it doesn't have anything to do with HHC Capital Corporation, but just for a holistic picture of our obligations, it might be helpful to pull all of that together. Linda, do you want to add
No,
to that?
I think that's exactly right. It doesn't, because it's not a debt secured by our lockbox. It's not related to the Capital Corporation, but we did discuss the need to present a holistic picture of debt. Just a note on that particular item, I believe it was related, it was sort of a unique item in that it was related to financing of a service agreement for the IT equipment rather than the equipment itself. I think we have very few still outstanding other free equipment loans, but we do appreciate the need to present a holistic picture of our financing portfolio.
Okay, that would be great because that will help us to understand better the whole picture. The second question, which actually was triggered by Frida's question, is that, again, in like kind of the personal financing, you can have a structure that you have certain line of credit, only you pay interest on the amount that you draw. You were mentioning that in these loans that were here for Citibank and JP Morgan, you actually have a drawdown period and you have to draw everything and then you're paying interest on the whole amount. Are we looking, as we are planning to go back to the market or refinancing this, that we do it more as a line of credit and only pay interest on what we use, instead of having, like, for example, right now we have $4 million that have not been used and we are paying interest on that $4 million?
That was actually the intent of these loans, to draw them as we needed them. And at the time, the capital project spending went lower than fully anticipated. So we just made a decision when we reached the end of that drawdown period to take advantage of the existing vehicle to draw the remaining balance. We can look into how much was unspent at the point that we did that, if that's helpful. But yes, that was our intent, to not be in a situation where we were paying interest on funds that we had not used. And that's only available to us. That was the reason that we went into these loans as opposed to bonds. With the upcoming bonds, we're looking at being, again, more strategic and thoughtful about the project and matching it to limit the period that we have funds accruing interest that while they're sitting.
But do you see that as you are thinking more kind of creatively, and you may have to go back to some loans like this type, will you be able to structure it so that you have kind of a whole drawdown period that is matching the maturity, so that you can only take it if you need it, and if not, you leave it with them?
Yes, I think we're very interested in that type of structure, and I think the work that's going on in the Office of Facilities Development to sort of map out the project planning and timing is really critical to the ability to do that.
Okay, thank you, Frida.
Sure. Thank
And
you.
thank you, Linda.
Okay. Jose, do you have any questions?
I don't. Just thank you, Linda, for the presentation. That was very useful. Thanks.
Thank you.
Matt, any questions?
No, nothing from me. Thank you.
Thank you. Bob? Nolan?
Bob, you have to unmute yourself.
I thought I did.
Oh, you're good now. Oops. No, try again.
You got me?
Yes, good.
Okay, thank you, Linda, for the presentation. I have no questions.
Thank you. Anita, any questions?
Not for me, thank you.
Great. Well, Linda, thank you very much for the presentation. We look forward to our next meeting in a few months. So is there any other old or new business to come before the board? If not, then I declare this meeting adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Pauline, also for being here. Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Bye.